Greetings, greetings, family. We are live. Sister Shanice in the house. Thank you so much for joining me on the Sister Shanice show. Wow, wow, wow. I didn't think I was going to be able to go live today, family, because I've traveled and when I arrived at my destination, I discovered that the phone lines were down, which meant that I haven't had any internet for the last 5 to 6 days. And so I wasn't able to promote this show. I wasn't able to let you all know the great guests that I had lined up for you. And didn't want to take any of that away. So I thought, you know what? We'll make it an open session today. But the great news is that we do have our special guest, Baba Clyde Winters, who will be joining us today as well. So that's absolutely fantastic news. So as you come through the door, family, please do let me know that you're in the house. Let me know where in the world you are watching me from. Rise up, Lily. Hey, first one to message me tonight. Thank you so much. Lily's greeting everyone. Please do give Lily a high five and a greetings back as well. Family, yeah, I'm in sunnier climates right now. What more could I want? I'm on the continent of Mama Africa. Yes, I am African, not because I was born in Africa, because I wasn't, but I'm an African because Africa was born in me. And so wherever I am in the world, I am first and foremost an African. So if I'm born in America, I'm not an American, I'm an African. If I'm born in the UKKK, I'm not British, I'm an African. If I'm born in China, I'm still an African. Wherever in the world I am, I can adopt the nationality of the country. If I'm born in Britain, I can adopt the British nationality. If I'm born in Canada, I can adopt the Canadian nationality. If I'm born in China, I can adopt the Chinese nationality. But I'm an African wherever I am. And so to all the Africans in the house, high five. Big up on yourself. Cause we're broad, yeah? We're there all over the world. We are the original people of the world, are we not? Oh, I want to rise up, Gebra. Woo, woo, woo. Rise up, Gebra. Glad to have you in the house. Mr. IC Black, great to have you in the house as well. Greeting us from North London. Oh, the weather's still out in the North London these days. Rise up, Yenge. Yenge Pimpa Kiambote, Sister Shanice. Yenge Kiam. I'm going to get that one. Family, we have Dr. Winters backstage. I'm bringing him on right now. Yeah. Greetings, Dr. Winters.
Hey, how you doing?
All the better for seeing you. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm doing well. Just another day in the Chicago. Winter's coming. You went to a hot climate where it's warm and nice, and you can go out and wear your short shorts.
That's exactly what it's like here. You can join me anytime.
Okay,
Oh,
thank
Dr.
you.
Winter, I've been sharing with you the trauma I've been having trying to get, internet connection. And a few hours ago, I got connected. So I'm like, yeah, we're gonna go live. And when we spoke, and you said yes, you'll greet the family, you'll hop on backstage, and so we are delighted to have you in the house. Family, if you haven't seen any of the shows where we've had the privilege and honor of having Dr. Winters in the house, you must absolutely check out those videos. Phenomenal learning. He has taken us on a journey that has gone back hundreds of thousands of years, then tens of thousands of years. He's brought the evidence, archaeological, genetical, linguistical, cultural evidence of our existence here in Europe and other parts of the world. Phenomenal. And I'm going to go right back to Dr. Winters in a second. So come through the door, family. Let everybody know that we are indeed live. I know we weren't going to do a show tonight, but we've got internet. So we are do a show tonight. So Mundele, welcome, welcome. Hazel, welcome. Watching us from Houston in Texas. How's life in Houston, Texas? Greetings, Audrey from London. Rise up, joy as well. Sending one love to the family. Yes, Sister Afrojamo cancelled an appointment with the president so that she could watch this show tonight. She told me earlier. Love you, love you, love. Dr. Winters. You see how we have one? Oh, our family are cancelling appointments with presidents so that they can join us this evening.
You're the oracle. You're the oracle. They want to hear something wise, something that's going to just blow their mind. So they come to oracles, Shanice, not Sister Shanice, but oracle, the oracle. You're going to speak their knowledge. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's a huge burden on my shoulders right there. But you know what? I'm a way maker. I open the door and provide the platform for great ones like yourself to give words of wisdom to our people during these important times.
Yeah, well, tonight you're supposed to let some of the family on, so it'll be interesting to see what they have to say. Let's get it started. Let's get the family in. And,
okay, let's do that.
Talk about.
So let me find where I can get the link. And family, I'm going to be posting the link in the chat. And so you are invited to join Dr. Winters and myself on the front stage. So just posting the link in the chat. There we go. If you would like to join us today, front of house, you are most welcome. You can have a 10-minute slot, and if the audience think you're great, you can stay on for even longer, okay? And we're just going to flow. But Dr. Winters, we have recently finished your 15-week Afro-phenomenological research, and wow, it has been phenomenal.
Well, it's been great working with you guys too, because I know you guys started your own research group, and it's great. But what I love is just to see all the people over there in Britain that want to develop their own methodologies, their own phonology, their own outlook on the history of the foundational Black Britons, and that's very important. It's very wonderful. But what I like so much is that a lot of times I got to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
As Black people from the tip of South Africa all the way up to Canada, we've all experienced into the Caribbean. We've all experienced the European putting inside of us a feeling of divide and rule. As a result, Shanice, is that most of the time we're afraid to work with each other. This is crazy. It's crazy. We're afraid to work with each other. And what I found so wonderful is that you, Amra, Baquette, you guys and the rest of your group, you guys found that comradeship. I was talking to Baquette last week, and she was telling me that there's a group called racial linguistics, and so this is a new discipline. But the reason that they can have this new discipline is that these scholars got together and they decide we're going to do this. And see, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get us to stop having that fear of working together and understand that was what the European imbued in us. He put that in us, as a result of of being enslaved. And he put that in us, but it's time that we rise up. It's time that we awaken. And that's what made it so beautiful, seeing you ladies get together and guys and decide you're going to make a change. And together, it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. Tell me about the group. Tell the family about the group.
Well, thanks to you, Dr. Winters, and your wonderful research course. Yes, we have decided that we are going to continue working together as a team of researchers. We have now, as a result of the program, acquired the skills to carry out research from an archaeological, anthropological perspective. We can look at the linguists in terms of identifying our history. We can look and understand the genetical reports that they do as well. We have just acquired such a vast range of knowledge from all the different disciplines. We've decided we're going to pull all that together and keep the momentum as a group, and we're going to be collaborating and we're going to be supporting each other so that we can be producing papers, writing books, and doing more research. So this is exciting times, and the really kind of innovative part of it as well is that we're going to have a focus on the Baratanax. Yes, and for those of you that missed Dr. Marie Charles's presentation and wondering, what am I talking about, Baratanax? The Baratanax is an ancient name for Britain, and it was the name that our ancients, our ancestors gave Britain and the British Isles. So we, the Baratanax, the original foundational Black Britons, are going to be researching our history for ourselves. And we've already begun to uncover a huge amount of history that has been covered up for centuries. And now we're uncovering it, we're peeling back the layers, and we're finding out that as Africans, we have a phenomenal history here in the UK. And so I'm really excited about the group and the energy within the group for us to continue working together, to uncover all of this history. So your legacy, is already, living on through us. And we just want to spread and share, the research skills and enthusiasm that you've instilled in us, Dr. Winters. But let's tell them a little bit about that course as well, shall we? Because it was awesome.
Mhm. Well,
Dr. Winters.
the course was it was 15 weeks, and what we did is that we tried to learn how to do quantitative and qualitative research. The most important thing was learning how to do two things. One, write a research question, or form a hypothesis, and then work towards it. And I'm so excited because some of the people in the group, I'm not going to name them, I don't want people to get jealous, but some of the people in the group wrote some great papers that I think are publishable now, but they got to send them out and they got to try. But I'm sure that they're going to begin to show this research. The class, as I try to tell anybody, if you can write a complete sentence, you can do the research. We forget that we had to come from my traditions over here in the United States. Richard Wright, he didn't go to college. He barely made it out. He barely made it out of high school. But look at the books he wrote. Jay Rogers, he came from Jamaica. He came to Chicago, my hometown, to try to go to the Art Institute. They wouldn't let him in because he was black. But look at all the great books that Jay Rogers wrote. You see, so then just because you don't have a college degree, that doesn't mean that you can't contribute to the history of your people. And see, that's the most important thing we have to understand is that we have a great history, not only in the United States, and right now, everybody in Britain, you know more history about the United States than most black people over here. That's okay. But what I'm hoping is that Sister Shanice, Amra, Anderson, and some of the other people in the group, that they can begin to let the world know about the great and the wonderful, history of the Baratanax, the foundation of Black Britons. And I know in a sense that some people are afraid of this history. And they're afraid of this history because this history outlines that you're there. And see, that's what I try to do in the course. It's 15 weeks. Most of the time, when I taught this course at university, it was only 8 weeks. But what I try to do in this course is to allow you to be able to interpret the various literatures. population genetics, historical, anthropological linguistics. And so that's one of the reasons that it takes so long is that I try to get the students to be able, in a sense, to understand these various fields. They can have at least a cursory knowledge of it, not a detailed knowledge, but just enough to know what these people are talking about. And what made it so good is that I told Sister Shanice and the rest of them, I said, gang, go back and look at what you said in the beginning. And when they said in the beginning, all these, I can't do it, I won't do it, I can't do that. And then look at what they've done today. They've done some magnificent research, and it's so great. And then I can't wait until the rest of the world sees it. You know, I'm not going to say anything about the research because Sister Shanice comes out with her research, and then we'll promote it. But she's a very modest woman, and but I mean, hey, God, she's a goddess, and our goddesses are great, and our goddesses are great because our goddesses allow us as men to share in the beauty that they give all of us. And that's what this is all about. It's about Barada Knox writing their history, Barada Knox telling their stories. You know, we got good stories over here, but you guys got greater stories. And your story is a story that's going to ignite an understanding. I grew up in Chicago. I lived around Latinos. So blacks, the Latinos back in the day, they all had to know how to deal with a knife. So, all right. Up until I was in my 30s, I always wore a jacket in the summertime, just in case I got in a knife fight. And I could wrap that jacket around my arm. That's stupid. Oh, dumb, man. But we need to know what it was like growing up in Britain with all these people always telling you to go home.
Yeah.
We have to understand. We need to know what it was like for those young men, those young Bernardinaks trying to grow up and trying to just go to school and being told every day, you're not welcome. You don't belong here. Get out of here. Go home. And now we know through the great research of Dr. Marie Childs, now we know that you guys are at home. You're at home. Yeah. Send them back to Germany. And even in Germany, black people ran that place. Let's send them back. Send them home.
We're home.
Send them home.
And we would never have known had we not done the research. So we do need to be sharing our stories, doing that research and uncovering the truth of our history and sharing it with the world. Now we've got Mr. IC3 Black backstage. I'm going to bring him up to join us. Welcome, Mr. IC3 Black.
Hey, how you doing, Black?
Greetings, big up panel. So, Sister Shanice, you're enjoying in Africa, enjoying yourself, enjoying the good fresh food and so on. Excellent.
I am indeed.
And yes, I've heard.
Where in the world are you? Where
I'm in London. Rainy, cold London in Enfield, North London, Enfield. Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, welcome. Pity I couldn't send some of the sunshine over there to you. But great to have
That's
you.
That's right. I'm receiving it in spirit, so don't worry.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you're a regular viewer on the Sister Shanice show. I see your name popping up in the chat quite often. So it's great to have you front of house. So how have you been?
Thank you.
And tell us, what is your important message? What is the news that you would like to share with myself, Dr. Winters, and the rest of the family?
Well, I've actually come to ask some questions, really, because I'm up to so many things. I don't want to take up too much time.
Hey, so, wait a minute. You're the star. You're the star. You're the star now.
Yeah.
Sister Shanice said I got 10 minutes. She said I got 10 minutes. So there was 10 minutes of exchange. Or I could, once I start talking, I'll keep going. So I tell you what, let's see how we can start it off. Then you let me know how long I can stay on. So, Dr. Winters,
go ahead.
Two questions. Yeah, two questions. The first one is, do you believe the system of white supremacy exists and it's global? And the second question, how do you use your knowledge of history and your research to effectively unite Africa and the African diaspora?
Okay, number one, yes, I do believe that there's a system of white supremacy, but you have to understand that this system of white supremacy is primarily aimed at attacking foundational Black Americans and Caribbeans. You better remember this: is that a lot of people from the Caribbean and Africa, they don't believe in white supremacy, but they don't believe in white supremacy because of the fact is that they've allowed people to think that they have some control over their life, some control over their bodies. But see, in the United States, because of the fact that we've had so much opposition, we see ourselves as POWs, prisoners of war. And the reason we see ourselves as prisoners of war, number one is that my background, on my father's side, they were slaves to the Vientors, the dirty Saxon Germans. But on my mother's side, she was a Choctaw Indian. And she Black as hell, so you say, damn, she just looked like another Negro to me, but she's a Choctaw. And so then we have this dual line. See, because of the fact that many of us have an aboriginal relationship and we were enslaved people, then therefore they know they owe us something. Because they know they owe us something, they hate us. Okay, now look. So they'll play up people in the Caribbean as being cool and all that. But when you come to London, it's a whole different story. And the reason it's a different story is because they know, number one, they took your land away from you. Remember, they always talk about the Irish were indentured servants. Yes, the white Irish and the Protestant Irish, but the Catholic Irish were Black. And because of the fact in the sense that they settled you in the Caribbean, yes, over 400,000 Black Irishmen who were Catholics were sent to the Caribbean. So when you come back to England as Baradanacs, they say we owe these people something, but they don't want you to know your history. And that's what Dr. Marie Childs has done. And that's what Sister Shanice is coming out with, a story that's going to blow your mind. So we do believe it's a worldwide white supremacy. Okay, I could talk about contemporary stuff. I mean, hey, I taught education and leadership and all that type of bull, but I like to talk about ancient history. And the reason that I talk about ancient history, Black, is because the fact is that I want us to understand where we came from. Because see, your past can tell the future. Yes, your past can tell the future. And so then therefore, if you know that you were able in a sense to create great civilizations, if you know that you were able, I mean, even the fact that they sent your ancestors to the Caribbean. They stole your land in Ireland. They stole your land in Ireland. They stole your land in Scotland. And they sent you to the Caribbean. And that Black man, I'm not going to get carried away on this show. I'm not going to start cussing because I know guys like cuss words over there. But Oliver Cromwell, when he sent the Black Irish to the Caribbean and to the 13 colonies, they went to Parliament and they said that you would be a chattel slave. You hear me? He said you would be a chattel slave. That meant that you were going to be property and that you were in a sense supposed to be exiled. They never thought you were coming back, Mr. Black.
We're back now. The descendants are back.
And they're scared as hell.
Nightmare.
It's so many white Britons who are dying off. These young Britons are dying off. They took that poison. We're not gonna name that poison. They took that poison and they're dying off. These are young British people in their 20s that are dying of heart attacks. Even though they may have took the poison months ago, they're dying of heart attacks in their sleep. They're not waking up. So what does that mean? that tells you that Amma is the doggone word for God. The word for God for Amma in Egyptian was Aman. But Amma has a way of making the playing field equal. And see, they're afraid because they know black. They know you guys are going to rule Britain one day. Yes. What was is. What did I say? What was is.
Yes.
It's like Sister Shanice always say, just because they took your house, that doesn't mean that you can't come back and take it back, buddy. Right?
That's right. High five.
Okay. So if I can still stay on. So okay, you understand the system of white supremacy. You see, because as you said very well, a lot of people in the African mainland, they don't really understand.
And Caribbean.
Like the Americans and the Caribbean, they don't understand as much. Right. So the knowledge. This is how I'm seeing what you're saying. So we're in a prison system, and I'm going to try and relate it to real prison, even though I haven't been to real prison, but I've spoken to people who have. So let's say we're in prison, and we're getting information into the prison library. So whilst we're in prison, we're studying the books and information and the Black history. Yeah. So we're starting to realize that although we were born in prison, we're studying about how we got into prison. And we're starting to find out that we're imprisoned unjustly. Yes. So as we're studying in the prison library, we're discovering all this information. We're discovering that we shouldn't be here and that we were stitched up. Okay. So we're reading all this information, and also going by what you're saying, the prison guards and the prison management will start to realize, wait a minute, these prisoners are starting to find out what happened, and they're starting to discover the injustice that put them in this prison. So obviously, going by what you're saying, the prison guards and the prison management are starting to get nervous. Yes. So the more information and the more courses, the more information you bring out and awaken the prisoners, they start to think, oh, right, okay, there's some been injustice here. All right. So I understand that's what you mean, and the value in studying history to change the prisoner's state of mind. All right. So what do you think of this then? Phase 2, the awakened prisoner. The awakened prisoner will, what will they do? They will start to build up a case to make an appeal so that their case will be tried again. Is that correct? What do you think of that?
It could.
They'll use the history, the information that you're.
But see, you wouldn't want to make a case. See, you wouldn't want to make a case because remember,
okay, cool.
Oliver Cromwell, there was an edict from the Parliament that you were put in exile, and that you were forbidden to ever come back. So we won't go. You won't go into that legal route. What you would do is that by learning your history, it's all development on you teach one, and then they can grow. For example, remember what happened with Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher, she saw during the Black Power movement, Black Panthers over there, that you guys were deadly serious about changing your condition. And so what did she do? Instead of in a sense understanding that all you wanted was justice, she changed the passports. She changed the passports so she could make you afraid.
Right. Move.
She can make you afraid.
Good clever chess move.
Chess move, baby. Chess move. So what you had to do is that you had to put the queen, and we know the king and the queen is in the corner. But what you have to do is you have to be intelligent enough to do this. You have to let your youth understand that there's somebody. And if your youth understand that there's somebody, then they will be competitive. See, most Black men, even over in America, most Black men are not competitive. And the reason that we're not competitive is that if a sister go look for a job and the employer says no, then that sister says, okay, I didn't get this job, but I'm going to try the next one. And so she go to the next one and they say no. She said, well, I'm going to go to the third one. And she's going to keep on trying, but Our boys. I got 5 boys and 1 girl, but I know that the majority of their friends, a lot of them turn to criminal activity because of the fact that when they get turned down for job 1 or job 2, they just decide they're going to take the easy route. And the easy route leads to what? It leads to going to jail. When you go to jail and you get that number on your back, you get that, over here we call it a number on your back. You get a number, and that number will stick with you the rest of your life. And that's a way to hold us back. So what we had to do over there in London, over there in Sussex, over there in all the cities, is we had to start to get our youth to understand that keep on trying, don't give up. Keep on trying, don't give up. Yeah, it looks like it's an easy way, but it's not an easy way, because that easy way just allows them to put a muzzle over you. And remember, Britain has a tradition that when they get ready, they'll send all their convicts who knows where. They don't have anywhere to send you now, but they'll do things. But see, what we want to do is that we want young men in Britain to believe in themselves. And the way they can believe in themselves is to know that there was a beginning. There were Baradanacs. What happened to the Baradanacs? But what was is. In other words, what was is. Go ahead. I saw you write down another question or comment. Mr. Black?
I also just want to jump in.
Yeah, this is really interesting how you said that.
Mr. Black, Shanice wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in. Thank you, Dr. Winters. Thank you, IC3. IC3 to say, I love your analogy of us being prisoners of war and in the prison. I liken it as well, have done in the past, to us being in an open prison. But the only thing is that most of us don't realize that we're in an open prison, and that the police officers are the guards of this open prison. And if you put your foot out of line, they will arrest you, and their judge, will judge you within this open prison. So there's this, kind of imaginary perimeter that we're all allowed to operate within. And we think we're free in this prison, and this open prison, until we put our foot outside and decide that we want to do something different and we want to do for ourselves. Then you realize, hang on a minute, you're not actually as free as you think you are. So there is still a huge amount of work that needs to be done so that we can be truly liberated to a point where, we can be a nation within a nation. Because the way things are at the moment within this open prison scenario, as we know, all the rules are kind of against us. They've all been designed to elevate others and to denigrate us. And so by changing the mindset, which is the importance of everybody starting to read the library books now, if everyone's in the right frame of mind, then they'll be able to make the right decisions. But for as long as we continue to believe the misinformation, we will continue to be misinformed and to make the wrong decisions. So right information in, right actions out. Thank you. So let's allow you to ask another question.
So I've got 2 points there. One for you. Yeah. One for you, Sister Shanice, based on what you just said there, because and another one for Dr. Winters. I'll start with you first, Sister Shanice. I was on a stream a few days ago and talking about this prison scenario, and the use of the prison guards are the police. In the discussion I was having with quite a few people, I was saying no, the prison guards are everybody who is classified as white. You see, and people going, what? What do you mean? Plus I said, if a white person is having sex with a black person, it is rape, even if the black person enjoys it. And the people say, what are you talking about? I say, well, slow it down. Are we in a prison system? Yes or no? And everybody said, yes. Okay. If a prison guard has sex with prisoners, is that rape or not? Then
Right.
oh yes. Okay, but they said, oh, you're pushing it too fast. Then we went into what rape is and so on. So the relationship there, I'm just moving it up a level. What you said is the police. I'm saying no. White people. So you do have good prison guards. Good prison guards. What they do, they try to make the life for the prisoners as nice as possible, but without losing their job. And then you get bad prison guards that will abuse the prisoners. So I'm saying it's the same thing. The whiteness is the uniform of the prison system of white supremacy. That's what I was response to yours, what you said about the police itself. So any comments on that? Do you disagree, or you think that's gone too far?
Well, I mean, I hear your analogy. I like it
What do you think?
But what I think is that the vast
It's a tough
majority of white people are themselves in this open prison, are themselves having to comply with all the policies, legislation, procedures, and processes and everything that make the bars of this open prison, the invisible bars of this open prison. And I give the police the position of the open prison guards because they have the power to enforce the policies, legislation, laws, etc. If you put your foot outside of the imaginary prison walls, the ordinary white person doesn't have that power. And I think they are, to a large extent, as misled, misinformed and miseducated as we are. So that would be my response.
Wow.
Yes,
I agree.
Okay,
I agree
interesting.
But
you agree as well. Okay.
Yes, well, I have one.
But
sorry, but see, but the point is this: is that I believe that they're in a way kind of in a prison, but see, they're given more privileges, and because they're given more privileges, they're like that snitch, that snitch on the tier, and because they're that snitch on the tier. They're going to be given they're going to be given privileges that are going to make them always feel that they have to keep you down too. And see, it's just like over in America. They've done studies, and they found that many Caucasians that support the Republican Party and Trump, they vote against their own needs. These people don't have health care. They don't have money. They don't have jobs. But they will vote against. They will support the Republicans because the fact is that they don't want us to get anything. But see, the trick is on them. Most of us aren't on aid anymore. Most of us aren't in need, aren't getting unemployment and all that. Many of us have jobs today. But see, they're the ones who really need this stuff, but they'll fight that. And the reason that they'll fight that is because of the fact they feel that they're more privileged because of their whiteness. And because of their whiteness, sure, they may recognize that they're in prison, but they're that snitch. They're that snitch on the tier that's going to help the guards, which would be the official police, keep the rest of the blacks down. That's how I see it. It's complicated.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
It's complicated. Complicated.
What do you think of our responses, Miss
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Right. Yes, it's a very deep subject. It's a very serious one as well. You see. Now, how I'd respond to it is that, like Neely Fuller says. Have you heard of Neely Fuller?
Of course.
Neely Fuller Jr.
Yes.
Have you heard of him?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So Neely Fuller says there's basically three types of people. He says there's the white supremacists, white people, and non-white people. Okay. So if there's white supremacists, white people, and non-white people, the non-white people, the black people, are those in prison. But going by Neely Fuller's model, which refers back to what you're saying, it's true. Not all white people are white supremacists. So that is dealt with. You're 100% right there. Not all white people are white supremacists, but all white supremacists are white people. Okay. So that fits in with what you're saying. Now, Yeah, it fits in. It fits in with what you're saying, but it's this issue, the difference between white supremacists and white people. Now, I'm saying that white people, sometimes the white supremacists will sacrifice. It's called white sacrifice. Yeah. Sometimes they will kill their own or abuse their own white people in order to maintain the prison system. So just like any business, sometimes you have to that one. We're gonna have to let you go. Yeah, we're gonna have to sack you. You know, so just like a business, sometimes some people have to get sacked in order to keep the business operating. So I'm saying the system of white supremacy operates like a business, and the white supremacists are the senior management, and then there's white people that may be sacrificed from time to time, and those white people who have been selected to be sacrificed in the system of white supremacy, they will feel, what's the word? They will empathize with the black people. Say, oh, I know what it's like to be abused, you know, because all of a sudden they're feeling the sting because they're about to be sacrificed. And I'll empathize with the black people. But it's still, the system itself has to be maintained, and there's costs involved, and sometimes those costs are white sacrifices. So do you catch what I'm saying there? So I understand what you're saying. You're saying white people are fellow prisoners in the prison system of white supremacy. They're in the cell next door. I'm saying no. I'm just saying that there's good prison guards and bad prison guards. Sorry? Yeah, so they might get extra cup of tea.
Yeah, I just want to welcome.
You're saying
I just want to welcome Bubble Car. I met Bubble Car today at the Eco Bank. Great to have you in the house, Bubble Car from the Gambia. I'd like to comment on the whole white supremacy thing, because that is a terminology I think that we've largely inherited from our family across the pond, and we've kind of adopted it and run with it. And but what we also say here is that words are very, very important. And so therefore for me, calling a group of people white supremacists seems to suggest that I think that we are inferior. Now, I know it's been defined as a system of white supremacy, but for me it's more of a system of white terrorism rather than white supremacists, because I think that we are the supreme ones, and white supremacy is an illusion. Because if we were in our right mind, hey, it'd be all over for them tomorrow. So they're living in a glass house, really. And this concept of white supremacy really is an illusion, and it will only last for as long as we are all not in our right mind. But once we as a people realize our greatness, realize our potential, realize that we are the creators and the true rulers that this environment, this universe, and this planet has been waiting for. Once we step up and take our rightful place, that system that you refer to as white supremacy will be under our foot. So it's just an illusion. It's like a deck of cards at the moment. And the minute the big wolf wakes up, we're just going to blow that little house down. Yeah.
Excellent,
So,
excellent.
yeah, for me, they're white terrorists, not white supremacists.
So
I understand what you mean.
You had a comment about what I said. What did you think?
Yes. About the Baradanax. So you said that Oliver Cromwell moved the Baradanax from Ireland and Britain to the Caribbean to be slaves in the Caribbean. Correct?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
He exiled them, and he exiled them, but he went to Parliament to make sure that this was official exile, and you were not supposed to come back.
Okay. So on that, how did Oliver Cromwell define? What language did he use to define the Baradanax separate from the ordinary Irish people or white people? What was the language he used in Parliament?
The
What was
language
the term
is that
he used for them?
they were Catholics. And because they were Catholics, remember this was during a time when the Protestants was taking control of the government. And so then the majority of Catholics at that time, remember, they forced King John down the road to change the Church of England to make it more Protestant oriented. So then what they wanted to do is that they wanted to get the Catholics out. It was a religious war. And because of the fact that the Black Irish and Black Scotchmen were Catholics, then he felt it was his right. They killed over 100,000. See, in your mind can't grasp the fact that Oliver Cromwell was Black. He was Black just like them. He wasn't white.
What?
Yes, he was Black. See, we can't put in our mind, we can't visualize Black people exterminating other Black people. But we know what happened with the Tutsis, the Tutsis and the Bantu, right? We know what happened in a sense. We know what happened with the Nazis and the Jews, right? People can be so cruel. And what we have to understand is that in our African tradition is that if you have your God that you worship, fine with me. Just respect me for worshiping our God. But the point is that the people who belong to the Abrahamic faith, may it be Muslims or may it be Christians, is that they don't have unity. The Catholics were fighting the Protestants. Just like among the Muslims, you got the Sunni Muslims in Saudi Arabia, and then you got, in a sense, I forgot what you call the Muslims in Iran. And see, so even though Oliver Cromwell was Black, yes, he was a Black man, but he did not see them. He did not recognize their color. What he saw is that they were the enemy because they were Catholics. See, what is hard for us to understand is that the European has made us feel that we should be unified as Black people, that we should be B1 Black first. But we only understand that we're B1 Black first because of our experience under the terrorism of white people. You see, but the Africans, the Oyo or the Yoruba Owadians, they fought the Benin people, right? Okay, and so then the European was able to have them fight each other. Over in America, you had the Black Ramassi. They were fighting the Cherokee, the Black Cherokee. And so, see, the white man has been able to use divide and rule among us because we used to didn't see race. But see, the European, he saw his European heritage. Because remember now, Oliver Cromwell was Black, but he was a European first. So he was a European Protestant nationalist. And so he saw that by killing off, in a sense, these Catholics and getting them out of the way, and then he brought in white people and other people to replace it. Haven't you ever noticed the majority of Irish have what? Red hair. The majority of Irish have coarse hair. In fact, it's really nappy. But they don't use the word nappy because that's left for us. So what he did is that he got rid of those Black Catholics. Haven't you ever wondered why so many people in Jamaica have Irish surnames, but their masters didn't have a damn surname? They had Irish surnames because their ancestors came from Ireland. Have you ever noticed how the Irish, they want to move their feet, and when they dance, like you move your feet when you came over there in Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana. See, that's because of that Black Irish heritage. But they taught you that the Irish were white because they were stealing your history, just like they're trying to steal the history of Egypt, just like they're trying to steal the history of Sumeria, the Sumerians. They stole your history too. You're in your land, Mr. Black, Mr. IC3 Black. You're at home. You're at home. You didn't know that when you was going to school and they told you to get you out of here, when they told you to go back home and you listened to it and it made you get angry and it made you want to hit them in the face, but you know it was 7 of them and only 1 of you. You're at home. And see, that's what makes this knowledge so dangerous. That's what makes it so weird. Have you ever noticed? Listen, have you ever noticed how the British like Africans? They love Africans. Have you ever noticed that? Mr. Black, have you ever noticed they like
Interesting that you should say that.
They like Africans, but they don't like people from the Caribbean. Especially they don't like you if you come from Jamaica. They don't like people from Jamaica because they know they took your land from you. They took your heritage.
Right.
Away from you.
That's right.
They
Yeah.
that's why they don't like Jamaica.
I think I can. So, the way you're speaking there, I've noticed this. I've got the British codes. Yeah. When the British government is referring to black people, it has these are the official codes for black people, right? And what's interesting, it matches what you're saying because there's an official code for black European. It's the code is, and for years I've been asking, trying to find out what this is. BEUR, black European. So this kind of backs up what you're saying. Actually, because look, can you see that?
Remember, I know you've heard about
BEUR.
Yes, but I know you've heard.
Yes, I've heard about the Jacobites. Yes.
If you heard about the Jacobites, they sent a spy among the Jacobites because see the Jacobites they were pretending they were Protestant.
Say that again.
The Jacobites. The Jacobites were pretending that they had turned Protestant, but they were really still Catholic.
Right, yeah.
King John. And so there was a spy named McKay. And McKay, he recorded a lot of information about the leaders of the Jacobites. And he says this one was black as hell. This one was kind of ruddy, red. But most of them, he all said they were mainly all black. They don't teach you that because you don't read the books. See, that's what it is. That's why. Do you remember back when you think about Jamaican history, they made sure that the Jamaicans didn't know how to read any books. They don't want you to read any books. That's why when you was in grade school, remember when you was in grade school and that white teacher would never teach you anything? Remember that white teacher who wanted to make you feel inferior? Remember that white teacher wanted you to run away from the books? Because he knew what was in the books. He knew that you learned how to read, then one day you might find out your real history, your real heritage. You see? He was afraid, Mr. Black, you would know who you were. Because if you know who you were, then you don't have to brag about it. You don't have to fight about it, but you teach one. If you teach one and somebody else teach one, and then somebody else teach one, you got thousands of people who know who they are. And you can't hurt the people who know who they are.
Thank you. Well, family, I think we would like to thank Mr. IC3 Black.
Thank you.
He had well over his 10 minutes. He's been on with us for, a good 40 minutes. Welcome to Mr. IC3 Black.
Thank you.
It has been great meeting you and to put a face as well to the name. You're right. Thank you so much. That means the floor is now open for someone else to jump on. So I'm going to post the link in the chat and you can join us on stage. Dr. Winters, I think we're going to have to do a session just on Oliver Cromwell. People in the group, in the audience are shocked. Someone is even saying, no, he was white, he wasn't black. And, this is what we're uncovering now, the truth of our history. And some of it is really, really difficult for us to, comprehend and to even acknowledge. But, the truth is the truth. I mean, I've got here, for example, a couple of sources that you can go to yourself, family, and have a read for yourself. So Dr. Winters, he mentioned the book, Charles I by A.E. McKillman. That's one book that you can look at. Another one is author of Alfred the Great. Another one, Cromwell, The Protector by Antonia Fraser, page 63. Another one for you. Let's see if there's another one. Black Irish of Jamaica is another one that you can read. No, I didn't have the one that you mentioned there. I've got it somewhere else. But in the book, Charles I by A.E. McKilliman, it addresses the colour of Oliver Cromwell. It says, there is considerable documented evidence that Oliver Cromwell was a person, no, I've said that was a person of colour. So in the book, Charles I by A.E. Killiman, who is author of the book Alfred the Great, etc., he described Oliver Cromwell as follows. His complexion was muddy and sallow. According to the Webster Dictionary of 1828, muddy means black, of the color of mud, and sallow meant having a yellowish color tinged with dark yellow. If the descriptions are taken together, the classification of Oliver Cromwell shows that he was a person of color in today's classification of a black person. In another book, Cromwell, The Protector, written by award-winning biographer Antonia Fraser, on page 63, it says, it provides a description of Oliver Cromwell in the book. He is described as having a ruddy complexion. Ruddy meant brown back in the days. It was a deep red color. And another one here, oh no, that's to do with his speeches. So there's a couple of sources there for you to go and look into yourself. And you know, there are descriptions in some of these books about the complexion of Oliver Cromwell, and you might be able to even find more sources, and you can share those sources with us. So I've dropped the link in the chat, family. Join us on stage, Dr. Winters.
But you know, Shanice, this is a problem. You know, our grandparents. If you grew up in Jamaica, if you grew up, my parents grew up in Mississippi, my grandparents told us how people were treated during slavery. We cannot imagine. It is very hard for the family. It's very hard for the family to imagine that other black people could treat black people as terrible as Oliver Cromwell did. But you had to understand, we didn't see color until the European came. We didn't see color till the European came. Yes, the Egyptians, they called themselves Comedians. They called themselves Hamit because they recognized black. But they called themselves black because they knew God was black. The universe was black. So, but they didn't call themselves as a racial group black. They recognized that they were black because of our connection with the Creator. But when the European came, it looked as though he was treating. Remember, it was black slaveholders in Jamaica. Over time they married white women, or they became very light skinned. Stop it. Most of you in the audience who are over there from Britain, okay, if you're Trinidadian, you may not understand. If you're from Guyana, you may not understand. But if you came from St. Kitts, if you came from Jamaica, you know how your ancestors were treated. And it tears you up to believe that other people of your color, your hue, could treat you like that. But look at this. Don't get me wrong. I'm B1 black first. But there's a lot of other black people who don't mind hurting you. They don't mind hurting you. They don't see you. And so what you have to understand is that people, because of their belief in a certain religion, as I told you, the Arabs are Sunni. They don't like the Iranians because they're Shiite. Catholics, a lot of times Catholics don't like people who are Lutheran. And none of us like Jehovah's Witnesses. But I like Jehovah's Witnesses. Somebody they come to your house every Saturday. They want to talk. But the thing is, this is this. You have to, in a sense, divorce yourselves from this lesson that Caucasians have taught us. The lesson that Caucasian has taught us, we're from a slave societies. I already told you, from the tip of South America all the way down to Antarctica, up to Canada, we were all treated by the terrorism Sister Shanice just explained to you. That is not white supremacy, it's white terrorism. But in our mind, we can't picture a black terrorist really killing people. Oliver Cromwell, he was so mean because the people were Catholics. He would take their babies and throw them in the fire, take the babies down and crush their heads. This is what these black people did to other black people. They were mixed, some white with them. But the main thing is that they're leaders. See, what you have to understand is that's why that we're trying to develop a new intelligentsia. We're trying to get foundational Black Britons to research their own history so you'll know the truth. And if you know the truth, what does it say? I think the Bible says it. At least they told me it was in the Bible. The truth will set you free. And that's what it's all about, you see? But is there anybody else that wants to come on? Come on.
Come on, family. There's no one backstage yet, but do come forward. Those of you who are commenting in the chat, we love your comments in the chat. But please do, come on, join us front of house.
We're not going to attack anybody.
As you were talking, I was thinking of various incidences that are even happening today, where we've got, our own people, treating their own in such inhumane ways. And we've had it throughout our history. Right now, there are militia group activities happening in various parts of the continent. We see the images on the television of where these militia groups have gone through villages and have caused the worst atrocities, murdered their own people, men, women, and children. We had the situation in Nigeria with the Biafra War. These were, our own people. You mentioned the Hutsis and the Tutsis. And, as we go back in history, there's so many other examples of where on the basis of different tribes, on the basis of different nationalities, on the basis of different religion, we have taken the blood of each other. And it's so important that we know our history so we can learn from it. Because, as the saying goes, I never get it right, not all skin folk are kinfolk.
Right,
so not everyone who looks like us is for us. And even if you look at the leadership today, some of the leadership across the continent of Africa, you really have to ask yourself the question, are these people really for their people? Because their conduct and behavior would suggest otherwise. So anyway, time for you to come on board. Let me drop the link in the chat. Don't be shy.
We're not going to say whatever you want. We're not going to attack anybody. We're not here to attack. We just want people to express yourselves. We're giving, Sister Shanice is kind enough to give you, the family, time to tell what you feel about what's going on in Britain, in the world, whatever. Come on, talk to us. Oh, but you can't talk about that shot. We're not talking about the shot.
I'll talk about that one.
Don't bring that up. They'll cut us off.
Says,
Cromwell did kill babies.
Kill babies.
He did kill babies.
His people did. Most definitely. They had a license to kill. There are even drawings, I've seen them, of how they used pick forks. The forks with about 5 prods on it and a long handle. These pick forks. And they stabbed the babies with them and there's an image of it. I've got that image somewhere. What happened when, after the Jacobins war, is unbelievable. It really is absolutely shocking. As Dr. Winter said, about 400,000 people were actually, how many were murdered? I think about 300,000 were murdered and about 400,000 were shipped from Ireland to Jamaica, Barbados, and America.
And what's the other island? The other island where they shipped a lot of Black Irish.
Montserrat.
Yeah, Montserrat. They sent a lot of them there. You know.
Yeah.
And
we went there with our own names. We went there. Those who made it there were on the same sort of ships that they described the Africans coming from Africa on as well. There were many who didn't even make the journey from England to the Caribbean, because from Ireland, the records show that they left from ports in Britain, and then from Britain, they were then taken to Montserrat, Barbados, Jamaica, or America. So there are many of our people who are Irish descendants and Scottish descendants, because once they'd emptied Ireland, they started emptying Scotland of all the Africans as well. Yeah. Hundreds and thousands of us, and this is a history that has been hidden from us.
Just
but
like
if you do the research,
just like when you think about it, that's why if you notice, they always tell you that voodoo and some of the other, that was the Beninian religion, and some of the Europe, the Orishas. If you ever notice, they always say that the Orishas and voodoo always adopted a lot of Catholic ideas. Why? Because many of those Catholic Irishmen, they related. See, we need somebody even to do the research on the real religion practiced by the Black Irish, the Black Scotsmen. Then you'll understand why people were able, in a sense, to accept the Orishas and accept voodoo, but they always made modifications. Listen out there. You are a unique people. You're a unique people. You've been conditioned to believe that you're average. If you come from Jamaica, if you come from Trinidad, your ancestors were the strongest people on the damn earth. They had sharks. Sharks would follow those boats from Bristol. They would follow those boats all the way. And sometimes they would take the people on board. They wouldn't have enough food. And instead of trying to share the food, they just throw all of those Black Catholics in the ocean. Sharks knew they were going to get food. Let me tell you, stop it. Study your history. Study your history. Know who you really are. And know why people hate you. Look at what they do. They don't never say too much about the Trinidadians. They don't say too much about the people from Guyana. They don't say anything about the people from Africa. That you come from Jamaica. They keep an eye on you. You come from Jamaica. They watch you because they know you're back home. It's your land.
Yeah. For real. Okay, family, come on. We're still waiting for you, family, to join us backstage. We had the privilege of meeting IC3 Black. It was great to have you in front of house, my brother. He had a number of fantastic questions and some interesting points of views and scenarios. And we want to hear from you too, family. So, Sister Afrojamo, want to come up front? Brother Kwame, want to come up front? He-Man, how about you? Welcome. Do you want to come up front? Bubble Car, would you like to come up front? Brother Nusi, come on. Brother Kimani, Gebra, do you have some interesting news that you'd like to share with us? To have, something important that you think we all need to be discussing or we all need to be aware of? Yes, I know that many of you are finding this new bit of history that has been uncovered, quite shocking, but it's well documented. And as we said, it's a history that has been hidden from us. The historical fact is that the original people of England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and the other British Isles were Africans. We were the original people. They've recently admitted it with the Cheddar Man when they did that documentary, and they said that they had to admit that the original people of this land was indeed Africans. And there's a lot more evidence of that as well. And we were here as the majority right up to about the 1500s or so. Right up to about
up until about 1650, 1660. After
1660, thank you.
That's when after 1660 they were beginning to ship out so many black Catholics, and the Protestant blacks they were marrying whites, and then in a sense the Jacobites, when the Jacobites they ran a lot of Jacobites out too. They ran Jacobites to other parts of Europe, and they ran them to America. So yes, you guys were the majority there. But the thing is, this is that these black people, they let their heritage take control of them. You see, you got to remember your heritage. Your heritage may be Baradanak, but your ancestry is African. All of our ancestors came from Africa, so we have an African ancestry. Your nationality might be anything: Jamaica, Trinidadian, Ghanaian, Nigerian. That's just your heritage. But we should unify not around our heritages. We should unify around our ancestry. Be one, be one, be one.
Ashe, be one. Indeed. Well, what's V. Addo? Welcome, V. Addo, saying these Black Europeans are the lost generation of Melkites who worked for the Roman Empire in Western Europe.
I'm sorry.
And once the Germanics conquered Europe, the blacks became disillusioned and wanderers.
No,
are you talking about the 40,000 black soldiers that came over with Septimus Severus, those descendants? Oh no, Septimus Severus came over with those 40,000 black soldiers to fight the Africans, to fight the Picts, who they were unable to beat.
And that's what you forget, Beato. You made a very good. I think you made a very good and interesting. But you had to remember, many of those so-called Germanic people, many of them were Celts and Picts, and these were black people. You see,
that's right.
And so then the point is this: it wasn't that we became disillusioned and we became wanderers. What really led to our disillusion and wonderment was, number one, you see, when they began to run the Moors out of Europe, because many of the Danes, many of the German families. Like, have you ever heard of Schwarzenegger? He was a great actor. He was a Terminator. What does Schwarzenegger mean? Black nigger. Schwartz, black, nigger, black nigger. What I want to tell you is that. That's why, Addo, you made a very good point, but that's why we need to get this research. That's why we got Sister Shanice. We got Dr. Marie Charles, and we got other people, Amber and others, who are going to let you know your true history. Listen. Sister Shanice is an oracle. You notice that when people wanted to know about Oliver Cromwell, she was able to give you receipts. This is the sister with the receipts. She's the sister with the receipts. You're not talking no smackaroni. She gave you receipts. And so if you got the receipts, what you need to do is, sometimes we have to listen. Sometimes we make a big mistake because we're not ready to listen. You see, we've been indoctrinated, especially as men. We've been indoctrinated to feel that mama, she can't tell us nothing, because we're mad at our mama, because our mama, in a sense, if you came from a slave society like I came from, my parents came from Mississippi, your parents came from Jamaica, and sometimes the woman talked too much. And sometimes my daddy tell us, don't listen to the woman, but you can listen to the Sister Shanice,
you so much. Thank you. I do.
listen
I
to
do.
the oracle. She's bringing receipts.
I've learned the importance of doing so thanks to Dr. Winter's research course. You see, this is what we were taught. When you talk, make sure you've got the receipts. Make sure you've got, the archaeological or the historical information well documented. Yeah, so I'm learning that. Thank you so much. So Kwame is saying, Baba Winters, the Celts are Africans, aren't they? Who
Yeah,
are Catholics.
they were just people who believed in the Catholic religion. Remember, in a sense, is that the original religion was Catholic. Remember, Protestantism began in Germany, and that the Protestants wanted to have more freedom because, see, nobody likes to be enslaved. When I tell people that my heroes, I have three heroes: John Brown, Paul Robeson, and Jesus Christ. When I tell people that my hero is Jesus Christ, they say, how can you be an educated person and believe in a mythological person? I said that I can believe in what he taught and what Jesus Christ taught. And he said, I can pray to Amma. I didn't have to go to nobody. And see, that's the whole problem when you become a Catholic or you become, in a sense, a Lutheran, a Baptist. They're always looking for their preachers to pray for them. But Jesus Christ said you can pray to God yourself and you can find freedom yourself. That's why I don't acknowledge any religion. You ask me what I believe, I tell you I believe in God. Because see, if you believe in any religion, it's a way to divide you. See, remember, that's what's kept the European, the Caucasian, kept the capitalists in control, is they always find a way to divide you. They all make money, but they have us, Catholics, Protestants. They have Shiites, Sunni. They have everybody, all the little guys and girls fighting. But see, you've heard us talk about Oliver Cromwell. The Oracle, Sister Shanice, has given you the receipts. All she said is look it up and check it out yourself. Mm-hmm. She's not saying that you had to take our word for it. She's given you the sources where you can find the truth. Yes, there is truth. You see, there is truth. So Catholics are just people who believe in the church from their perspective. And you remember, most of the early leaders of the Catholic Church were Black. But as I said before, and as Sister Shanice repeated just a couple of minutes ago, all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
So true. Rise up, rise up. So, yeah, the information is out there, family. Do go and check out the sources that we give you for yourself. As I say, don't believe me, don't believe us. Go and do your own research. We'll give you the leads. We'll tell you where to go and look because, we've looked for ourselves and we're sending you there. Chris is in total disbelief about everything, it seems, right now. And he says, he's asking, what 40,000 Black soldiers? There were never 40,000 sub-Saharan soldiers in the Roman army. And Severus wasn't Black. Well, I think I didn't actually say they were from sub-Saharan Africa, but the fact that you're saying it, Chris, you've heard that there were 40,000 sub-Saharan soldiers.
He knew it. This is a troll, Chris. Chris, you're trolling. Yeah. We love you, Chris, but you're trolling. Listen.
Yeah, I didn't say they were sub-Saharan, but he's telling me they were sub-Saharan. So that means he knows that there were 40,000 soldiers for sub-Saharan Africa.
Not only that, but remember, what did the Romans call the troops in Mauritania and the troops they got from North Africa? They called them Morays. Morays or Mora means black. Come on now, Chris. Come on, stop trolling. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Shame the devil.
Oh yes. So you're making us laugh. You're making us laugh, Chris. Can't take you seriously now. Okay. Any questions? Post them. Since you're a bit shy, family, to come to the front. Post your questions, thoughts, and opinions in the chat, and we'll bring them forward. What's this one here? Let me have a read. So what are you saying, Doctor, is that Europe was once full of Africans with European names, and the whites annihilated them and took over their names and culture.
No,
Why is that so? Well, you know what? There's a lot of truth in that, though.
it's a lot of
But
truth.
let me allow you. Mm-hmm.
It's
Please,
some
Doctor.
truth in that, but you have to understand is that just like if you notice, look at some of the heraldies, some of the crests of the various families in Britain. If you look at the crest of the families in Britain, then in a sense, you can see that many of their ancestors were black. They don't mind telling you their ancestors were black. So they didn't kill off all the blacks. But what they did is that they imported in there these white women. And the more white women they could bring in, see, I'm going to tell you, for many black men, maybe not you, Adam, but for many black men, white thighs are poison. And what I mean by white thighs is that a lot of brothers, if they see a white girl, they feel that that's exotic. And because they want the exotics, a lot of times they would marry white girls. And then when you had your children and they were light-skinned, then when they continually became light-skinned in a sense, then therefore, in a sense, they looked like they were white. But then we look at the Irish today. What do we see in the Irish? We see red hair. We see freckles. We see coarse hair. This shows, in a sense, that their ancestry, their heritage is of those black Irishmen, you see? And so then you don't have to annihilate people. Look at what happened to the Moors. The Moors were mainly all black. But then they brought the Turks, the Ottoman Turks, they brought in so many Slavic women that after a while, the North Africans became very light-skinned. I don't know why it's so hard for people to understand that if you keep marrying people from a different race, they can steal your legacy. They can steal, in a sense, your prestige. That's why me, for one, I love beautiful black sisters like that sister over there. Yeah. Oh my! Yes, sirs. Yes, sirs.
And it's so important that we keep it black, because it's got to be about race preservation. Otherwise, as Doctor was saying, we will just bleach ourselves out of existence.
That's right.
And that was, to some extent, what actually happened. Also, we talked about the genocide that happened. We also talked about the land clearing. I just want to add something else here, Doctor. And it's as true for what happened in Ireland as happened, earlier in Ireland. So I'm just going to quote something here from a book called Phoenician Origin of Britons and Scots. Okay, family? It says, anthropologists, from their exact measurements of the people of Britain, tell us that, and we quote, the darkest population forms the nucleus of each of the Celtic language areas, which now remain. Okay, so you asked about the Celts, Avon. So here we're talking about the Celts. And in the book, Phoenician Origin of Britons and Scots, it's telling you that the darkest populations actually form the nucleus of each of the Celtic language areas, which now remain. And this dark Celtic speaking element is especially found in Grampian Hills in Scotland, the wild and mountainous Wales and Cornwall, and the hills of Connemara and Kerry in Western Ireland. And their average stature is relatively short, culminating in Britain, in South Wales, the Severn Valley, and the Cornwall. It will thus be noticed that the Celtic area corresponds generally in Scotland with the area in which the latter Picts suddenly disappeared, and in whose place have suddenly appeared the people called Celts. So what that is telling us right there, family, in the book of Phoenician Origin, Britons and Scots, is that those areas that were originally inhabited by the dark population of Picts, over time, the very same areas were suddenly became Celts. And we know who's trying to claim the origin of Celts, don't we? Yeah. So they basically, all of the history of the Picts, which went back tens of thousands of years, okay, was taken over at some point. And in history, the Picts were omitted and the Celts appeared as this new group of people with the Celtic language in all of the areas that correspond with, hey, where's Papa gone? Where's Papa gone? With all the areas, maybe he's got to get the same book that corresponds with the Celts. And there also you have in that document, in that book, information about where the Celts were and where the Picts were and a description of the Picts. Because all of the original Africans who populated this part of the world, England and the British Isles, are described as small statured Africans. Some call them dwarfs, some call them pixies. You know, pixies come from Picts. Picts were Africans. Baba Winters, where have you gone? Okay, family, I need you to join me on front. I don't know where our Baba Winters has gone. But, you know, when I came across that little bit of reading, I thought, oh my God, let me continue. It says, in Ireland also, the Celtic area generally corresponds with that part of the country specifically associated with the bands or early themes who have been found where Picts, Cornwall, with its old tin port, the Ictis or Victis, was a chief Celtic centre on the old sea of the Itch or the Picts, and the Picts appear to have called themselves Caldis, Caltis. Now, this new line of evidence leads us to the conclusion that the early Celts or Celts were presumably the early Picts, calling themselves Caldis, Caltis, a primitive people. Remember, primitive originally meant, you know, like enlightened ones. It meant, you know, creative people, but the Europeans have denigrated that word primitive. And this author is saying that he finds mass evidence that these were the early, Dr. Winters is back, these were the early Chaldees, Galati, Gal, or back now. Don't these names sound familiar in the biblical texts as well? Hey, family, we were known by so many names, weren't we, Dr. Winters? Where did you go? Yeah, we weren't.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt you. I had to go and put my dinner on. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And now, but the thing is, this is that, as we're saying, family, is that we're not trying in a sense to get you to believe anything. You see, but what we are asking you to do is that if you're really seriously interested in understanding your history as Baradanacs, understanding your history as foundational Black Britons, you know, Sister Shanice is giving you the sources. She's giving you where you can go and you can check this out for yourself. Because yes, she understands, and we all must understand that when you start bringing a new and a real history of the Baradanacs, if you're going to write a real history of Jamaica, you have to know the truth. And see, that's what it's all about, is that they tell you that that there's no truth in history. They tell you in a sense that only truth takes place in a court of law, where a man in a white wig and in a black robe can tell you what's true. But the thing is, that's why you had to go through a process of interpretation. See, it's one thing to read a book. It's another thing to read that book and try to interpret the information. And sometimes you had to learn different languages so you can understand where this stuff is coming from. And see, yes, there's a lot of events that are taking place today. But if you don't know why? Haven't you ever wondered, and I keep bringing this up, haven't you ever wondered why the British like anybody but people from Jamaica? Why are they so afraid of people from Jamaica? Because they feel guilty, because deep down they know that They're living on your land. They're living in your house. And they're so afraid. They were so afraid. They were so afraid that Sister Shanice, Dr. Marie Charles, and others would find out the truth and tell you. To tell you your history. Because they don't want you to know, because see, when you know your history, then you start demanding. I didn't say ask. I didn't say you're asking. You're not asking for ish. You're demanding. You're demanding what's yours. A return.
Imagine, you know, over hundreds of thousands of years, you know, our people lived in England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. We built the cities, the markets, the bridges, we did the agriculture, we established the foundations and the industries right up to 1650.
And even beyond,
and beyond, we continue to as well. And imagine, as a result of that religious war, you know, about 1 million Africans were removed from Ireland, either through the genocide or through the transportation, leaving behind all of their wealth, their land and everything. In fact, Oliver Cromwell made it an edict that all those who were involved in the revolt would be denied all their land and their wealth and their castles and their titles, everything. They would be stripped of everything, and their future generations would be as well. So a lot of those people who were very wealthy went to the Caribbean penniless. They ended up in the Caribbean or America penniless. But they wanted us to remember who we were, some of them. And that's why in Jamaica, you'll find places like Irish Town, you know, and all these other Irish names all over Jamaica, in Montserrat, in America. They took the names of the places and they named the names of some of the places in Ireland, in Jamaica, and other parts as well.
And then Coupe Grass, a couple of generations later, there was a man named Thomas Cromwell. And we don't know if Thomas Cromwell was really related to Oliver Cromwell. But what we do know is that Thomas Cromwell, this is official, he destroyed 94% of the pictures, tapestries, and books with images of the black Scotsman, Irishman, the black kings of Britain. He destroyed 94% of this. And you know what he did after that? He had all of them repainted to look white. That's why you don't know your history. I know you just can't believe it. I know you don't want to believe this. See, but they would pack those black Irishmen and Scotsmen in those ships like sardines. They didn't care if you died or made it or what.
That's right.
And
that's right.
And they took people, but in your mind, it's hard for you to grasp. It's hard for you to put. It's hard for me to put in my mind that you could kill hundreds of thousands of people. You know, no, Desiree, no. You don't have to unite. People will never unite. All the people will never unite on any topic. But you know what we need to do? We need to respect our heritages and our ancestry. See, respect who and what you are. Respect your history, because you're never going to find everybody united. Even all white people aren't united. But what you want to do is you want black people to know who they are, where they came from, and then they can move forward. Yes, we need to move forward, but we can't move forward waiting for everybody to unite. What we can do is try to teach one, and each one teach one.
As well as puts a smile on our faces. Great. Creates says Someone better make an Instagram clip of Dr. Winter's professor in London.
I would never do that.
Hello,
I said she's a beautiful sister. You know, listen, I'm 71 years old. She got a big, strong man in the back room. You come and kick my hello.
It's brotherly and sisterly love.
That's right,
family.
it's brotherly. See, you can love somebody. You can love somebody, but it doesn't have to be that type of love. You see?
That's right.
And anyway, like I told you, just between me and you, oh, mine, right there. I don't want to hurt me.
Oh, you have to just love Barbara Winters. Oh, you are just so unique, beautiful. Love your spirit. Absolutely love your spirit. So let's see. Isn't anyone else going to come and join us though? Hey, come on, family. We've got about 25 minutes left for you to jump on and join us. Okay. Right. Let's see what we've got going on in the chat. So. V. Adu says, so were the West African enslaved people placed among the black pigs in the Caribbean?
No.
Yeah.
The pits weren't in the Caribbean. I'm sorry. The pits, they were a long, long time ago. You know, they you know, the people, the black Irish and the black Scotsmen, they were related to some of the pigs. But you also had Egyptians over here. You also had Phoenicians. You also had people from West Africa that was in Britain. See, they always teach you about the most ancient black person in Britain 22,000 years ago. But they make you they never explain what happened to the rest of the blacks. See? And so they know that the pigs, they were in an earlier part of our history in Europe and in the UK. So they weren't in the Caribbean, no.
And you know, they were hunted a lot, weren't they? The pigs, they were hunted and slaughtered, and you know, I think the last surviving ones were the ones in Scotland. They managed to there's records of them going right up to about the 9th, 10th century, where they were still holding on to Scotland. You know, when England was being invaded by the Romans got into England, but they didn't manage to take Scotland because of the pigs. The pigs put up such a defense to protect Scotland from the Romans. That's why they sent Septimus Severus and the African army into England to try and fight the pigs to take over Scotland. Because remember, the Romans, they were just taking over Europe. They were coming from North Africa all the way through Spain, France, Italy, coming all the way up. But they had to stop at Scotland. They got as far as Northumberland and York, but they were unable to penetrate and beat off the pigs at that time. And then after that, you had the Vikings invading. But the first Vikings to invade were also Africans. Another group of people whose identity has been stolen. And so we have to, you know, recognize that some of that, like you said, some of the earlier nationals and origins and people that we talk about, the earlier ones were Africans, and then later we have people who come in and steal their identity and claim their history and claim their land and claim their heritage and their wealth. Because we need to be asking that question: what happened to the wealth of all of the African aristocracy and you know, the lords and the sirs and all of those wealthy Irish and Scottish people who were banished from their lands and sent into slavery? Who then stepped into their castles? Who then took over the cities and the villages, and who then took up the positions of sir and lord and count and countess? Who are the ones that stepped into the shoes of those ancestors who were sent into perpetual?
Not only that, is that every day Every day, you guys over there in the UK, they tell you your kids can't learn. They want to put them in special education. Your ancestors, the Baradanacs, they invented the architecture in the British Isles. They built the castles. They were the engineers. They were the businessmen. These were black people. Do you know they should be ashamed of themselves to dare get in your face and tell you your kids can't learn when your kids can learn. But they continually tell your children they can't learn. They continually want to put kids in special education. They continually want to tear down you as a people because of the fact that they don't want your children to compete with them. They don't want your children to compete with them. Stop it. Stop it. Let your people tell your kids, have your kids look at some of the shows that Sister Shanice has produced. Stop just looking at them by yourself. Have your kids look at them. Have your kids learn about their great history. Have your kids learn who they were and what they can become. And then they'll have the self-esteem to know that I can't compete against that white kid sitting over there in that other seat. I'm better than him. Not that you want them to think they're better than anybody, but you want them to understand that they come from a unique people. They have a unique history, that you're the only one that's with the one. Stop it. Stop it. Let your kids know that they have a future and that all they need to know is to just hang in there. Get them black boys, get them to stop hanging their damn pants down and trying to show their butt like a daggone whatever. Let them understand that you ruled this place and you can do it again. But they have to believe in themselves. Your children have to believe in themselves. And the only way they can believe in themselves is to know who and what they are and what they've done and what they can do. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much for raising that as well about the young people and the importance for them to get to know the history and even to see the show. So I want to rise up young Corey, my grandnephew. He said to his teachers at school, it's the last day of African History Month, Black History Month, and I want us to watch Auntie Shanice's videos on YouTube for Black History Month. And so they played one of my videos in their assembly to the year 7, 8, and 9. I can't remember how many age groups, hundreds of them. And I said, oh, that was beautiful. So I want to rise up young Corey for that beautiful suggestion and for your persuasive skills there that made the teacher say, yeah, okay, we'll do this. Young Corey is only about 8 years old, but yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, all the information is there. You've got some great shows. Dr. Winters, he's been breaking down the history of the Baratanacs and those of us, the first frequency people in the UK, the foundational Black Britons. The history is there. And so for those of you who have missed the shows, please do go and check them out. So important. I can see from some of the surprises and the surprise questions in the chat that our people are really shocked at what they're hearing. It's just like the archaeologists, as we say now, the deeper they dig, the blacker it gets. Every time they dig up a tomb or an ancient, some kind of ancient tomb, or they find the bones of Africans. And they know they're Africans from their stature, they take some shavings off of them, do the DNA, and they find out they were Black. There's a whole heap of history that we have, family, that has been hidden from us. And we are uncovering that history one day at a time. Want to rise up our sister, Dr. Marie Charles. Wow, wow, wow. She's writing right now about the history of us in Scotland. Dr. Winters, as you speak, I'm going to, can you see the comments in the chat?
No, I can't see the comments.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the
StreamYard. Oh, right. Okay. Let's see. Is there can you see where it says comments, banners, private chat, or is it only me that can see
It's
that?
only that's the only chat that we can have between the people on the StreamYard.
Oh, okay, that's the
It
only one.
doesn't, show what's on the you know, with the regular people.
Okay, okay, so that's all different. All right, so I'm going to put up a question for Dr. Winters, and then I'm going to bring something up, family, that's going to really surprise you. I've got an image to share with you that's really going to surprise you.
This is called the MFIT. This is one of this is a book that Dr. Marie Childs puts out. Dr. Marie Childs, let me tell you something. Yeah. I taught Afro-American history for 40 years in the high school and at university. And do you know that I did not learn the real history of the Baradinaks until I got this magazine called MFIT. It's published by Dr. Marie Childs. You guys got to get MFIT, and you should have MFIT in every home. Your kids should be able to look at this and know who they were. You need to know that you are a unique people. You need to know you're unique.
Here's another one. Yes. Big up, Dr. Marie Childs. Packed with our history. Packed with our history. Yeah. Yeah. I bought those ones with me. There's a game. I'm going to find this ancient piece of artwork that I came across when I was doing my studies. Yeah, when I was doing my research, really want to share it with the family. So much to share. Also, but I'll come back to that one. But in the meantime, let me put up a question while I'm looking for that. Yes, a unique history. Mm-hmm. Chris is definitely a troll. How many Black Europeans? Okay, we've got a question here for you, Dr. Winters. How many Black Europeans were shipped out of the UK, Europe, and sent over to the so-called New World?
Okay, from the documents, King Charles, he sent over 30,000 to the Caribbean, and in a sense to the 13 colonies. But the vast majority of Black Irishmen and Scotsmen came, in a sense, as a result of when Oliver Cromwell was sent to pacify the people in Ireland. When he went to Ireland, according to the documentation, they sent over 300 men, women, and children. No, 300 men and women, and they sent over 100,000 children. So that would be a total of 400 that are in the documents. These people were sent over to the 13 colonies and in a sense the Caribbean between 1650 and 1660. And what made it so bad is that Oliver Cromwell made it clear in Parliament that these Black people, that these Catholics would not be indentured servants. He specifically said they would not be indentured servants. They would be chattel slaves. This is in the documents. They were to be chattel slaves because he did not want those Black Catholics coming back to Britain ever. Mm-hmm. So the documentation shows at least 430,000. That's
okay. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Winters. Let's see any other questions in the chat. What's this one? Madeli, that's so true. Big ups, getting some big ups there. Let's see what the original point was by Madeli. It says, okay, thank you, Bia. My ancestors in Congo called the continent Catopia. Do you want to come on, Mandeli? You're most welcome. We'd love to hear from you from the Congo.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about the Congo.
Yeah. Okay, so do come on. It's not too late for you to do so. Okay, here's the link. We've still got 10 minutes left. if you would like to join us, okay? Right. So, okay, this is something else that's quite often said, isn't it? Africa derives from Greek, Afrique, meaning a land without hold. I've heard so many stories
So
about
many
where the name of,
names, so
yeah,
many, so many things about where Africa got its name. You know,
yeah,
but again, Africa, we always had to remember that Africa is a continent, and that and since it's a continent, it's much more than we can believe.
hmm hmm absolutely. Okay, any more?
Afrijam, Afrijam says Sister Shanice videos and all other African videos should be shown in school to our youngsters. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
You're right.
that'd be
You're right.
awesome. So yeah, we've got a phenomenal history. We really have as a people. And you know, back in the days, can you imagine? They used to suggest that we didn't have a history, that we were from a dark continent that had no history. And it was claimed that there was no history until the white man showed up there. And only for us to be doing our research now and to be uncovering that not only, do we have a history, but there was no history before African history. We
That's
are the
right.
original, the
That's
originals
right.
all over the world. Dr. Charles has brought evidence in this book as well of us as the original people of Russia, which a lot of us know, but how many of us have the evidence of it? And these these are not Shango bones, but these ornaments that we have here, right on the front cover here, and this is the sort of work that Dr. Marie Charles is doing. This one here is dated 6th century Ireland. Yeah, so this is a piece, yeah, of carving from Ireland in the 6th century, and here we have a very similar piece that is from Nigeria. Cultural continuity. What she says is that you can see that the people from Africa and the culture that we had in Africa is the same that we brought to Ireland. We brought our culture with us wherever we went. And there's so many of these examples throughout her book, which prove from the archaeological findings, that we were the same people who had the same culture, from the inscriptions and the picture writings and the geometrical shapes and designs in stones. The evidence is there if you know what to look for. Get the books, get Dr. Winter's books as well, and you will be directed to where you can go to find the evidence. And once you have that knowledge, once your mind has been transformed with the information about what to look for, where to look for it, of your history, and once you're loaded with that information, then you can also be an oracle, somebody who's there going to be sharing the knowledge of our history.
Barada next. Barada
We need
next. Barada next. Foundation of Black Britons. Go. Go. Go.
Yeah, come on, family. It's our time. It's our time. So let's all be doing the research. Let's all be sharing the news and information with each other as well. Thank you for the thank yous as well. Cultural continuity, exactly. This is what our sister Marie has been showing us throughout all of her books. So if you have any final questions or points, make them now. Because we will be wrapping up very soon. Kwame says, Shanice, mythology is mind-boggling, isn't it? Mythology, there's so much of our history wrapped up in mythology as well. All the stories of the pixies and the dwarfs, and they were the leprechauns. These were the small statured Africans that they were talking about, in these so-called myths.
That was the Anu. The Anu. Those Anu, the Anu had a great civilization. I mean, I've been trying to write the history. I'm doing. I got a little bit of their history, but I only got a lot of their literature, their technology. I mean, think about this. The Sphinx. Look at that Sphinx. That Sphinx was built by the Anu. Those people we call the Pygmies today, the Twa today, they built the Sphinx. See? And so see, we got such a great and wonderful history. And they brought a lot of that knowledge. And see, you have to start telling your children their authentic history. You have to start telling your children what they're capable of doing, because every day when they look at TV, every day when they go to school, these teachers are telling them that they're nothing, they're nobody, they have no history. But you have a great history, a unique history of the Baradanax. The more your kids know, the greater they'll become.
Ashe, absolutely.
Asheo. Asheo.
Asheo. So let's Pushkin. Someone's talking about Pushkin there. Yes, Alex Pushkin, African. Yeah. If Shakespeare was not African, he was getting his inspiration from a young African female, but apparently she wrote all of his compositions. He could not spell. Dr. Winters, I don't know if you've done any research into Pushkin and Shakespeare.
No, the only thing I found, I saw one thing where they said Shakespeare was black, and I believe it. But the point is this, is that, as I told you, they didn't really acknowledge their blackness. They only acknowledged their Europeanness. They were European nationalists. And that's why they had so many wars over there between the British and the French and the Germans, because they're very nationalistic. And see, but as I said, the British, what makes the British so diabolical, what make those Saxon settlers, and yes, they're settlers in your land, those Saxons, is that they're able in a sense to unify against all others based upon their nationality and their Caucasianness.
Oh, this is a great one, because I came across this in my research that I was doing for Dr. Winters.
Yes.
Tonya says, I always thought the Caribbean patois accent sounds like the Irish accent to me. Well. When I did my research paper for Dr. Winters, I came across this as well. And I was looking at Old English, because back then, when the Irish Africans were ruling Ireland, they were speaking a form of Old English, yeah? And so I looked at Old English, Modern English, and the Jamaican patois and pronunciation. And there was a number of similarities in a number of words as well. So, for example, in Old English, they would say whirl, and in Modern English, we say world. Well, in Jamaica, we say world. And then there's so for example, for enemy, in Old English, that was Ansanka, yeah, Asanka. And in Modern English, it's enemy. The Jamaican pronunciation, you would tell somebody to go asanda. That means move from me, use my enemy. Go asanda. Then, go ahead.
We wouldn't know that. Don't lose that thought. Listen, family, we wouldn't know that, except she's from Jamaica. She heard the language around her house. She heard the language in the community. That's why you're so dangerous. You're so dangerous.
Because we can connect the dots. Yeah.
Thank you.
In Old English, if you're saying old, it's like old. It's like old. EALD. Old for old. In Modern English, it's old. But in Jamaican pronunciation, it's old. In Old English, you would say father. In Modern English, you say father. Jamaican pronunciation, father. Even if in Old English you say the devil. Old English, the devil. In modern English, devil. In Jamaican pronunciation, the devil. The devil. And so many of them. I was just started listing them as I was looking at the Old English, and I was looking at the similarity in the pronunciation. So even if you go the modern English, you'll say soul. Old English, soul, soul, Sawol. Jamaican pronunciation, soul.
It's
Good in modern English, good. Old English, good was till. Jamaican, good satil. Good satil. That means that you're good satil. And like you say, because I'm Jamaican, I could pick them up and I could go on and on. Old English and Jamaican patois have so many similar sounding words and pronunciations. Too much for it to be coincidence.
and see, that's what makes it. That's what I'm telling you. Family, family, family. Some of you out there, you can find out more information and spread the knowledge about who you were. See, yes, they were. Yes, Beato. They say that the Sphinx is maybe 12,000 or 13,000 years old. Okay, we know in the sense that the modern Black Egyptians came with Narma or minis, and they don't come around until about 4,000 BC. So that means that around 13,000 BC, when the Sphinx was built, it had to have been built by the Twa. The Egyptians, they make it clear that the original Egyptians were the Anu people. Anu, and that these people spread the knowledge. But to get back to this whole idea is that look at what Sister Shanice found just by reading the books. I'm telling you, family, the Black history, the history of Baradanax is right staring you in the face. You just need to look at it and think and have a consciousness. We're not telling you to paint everything black. We're not telling you to paint everything, in that complexion. But all we're asking you is to realize that you are a unique people. You are a unique people. Stop feeling that you don't belong in your own land. They know who you are. You don't know who
Well,
you know who you are.
we do. So, family, I want to thank IC3 Black for jumping on board. I want to thank Dr. Winters for being a guest alongside me today. I would have been lost without you, Dr. Winters. Thank you so much. And you are my special guest for next week. Please share with the audience a little of what you've got lined
Okay,
up.
well, we've already talked on Sister Shanice's show about the Vikings and the Celts. Then we talked about the erasure of how they drove the Baradanax out of Britain, the UK, and sent them to Jamaica and to the other places. Okay, next week I'm going to talk about the history of the Baradanax, Foundational Black Britain from 1900 up to the present. And in this thing, what I want you to understand is that I've done 3 shows already for Sister Shanice. If you have your kids look at these shows in order, they can get some tidbits about their history. But I'm gonna tell you this, is that you got to tell your friends to look at this. You heard for the first time in history, because it was the first time to me until I read her paper, you heard Sister Shanice explain to you where patois came from. It came from your Black Irish ancestors. And see,
Yeah.
get your family, call your friends, tell them that you heard it here. I am sitting beside one of the greatest scholars that's going to break out in terms of your history. You have not seen the last. Right now, you're looking at Sister Shanice on her show. She's on a radio program. But when her books and her articles come out, You're going to be proud to share with your families the fact that you have a great history. Stop it. Stop it. Stop thinking that you're not home. Remember, you're a unique people. You're a unique people. But you don't know that until you study and listen to the oracle.
Oh, Dr. Winters, you have spoken so hugely into my life. I just hope I can live up to those expectations. And family, I want to thank you all for the support that you have been showing throughout the time that we've been doing these lives. You know, do join us next strong. Dr. Winters, as you've been hearing, powerful professor of our history. And it's so important, as he says, that you encourage your children to watch the videos that he's done on this show. It's packed with information and knowledge. And, you know, we would encourage you to go and do your own research as well. You know, the information is in there, the sources and everything. Go and build on it, share the information, have the discussions in your family networks as well, you know, and I'll continue to do the research and I'll continue to do the best I can to share and to write as well. And with your support, Dr. Winters, you know, it will happen. So family, all be well, same times next strong, alongside myself and Dr. Winters, our anthropologist, linguist, archaeologist, a historian, educator, and so much more. We're honored. Family, thank you so much. I can see the comments still coming in, but yeah, please do put some comments in the description under the video that's going to entice people to want to watch it. Thank you, family.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes,
Mrs.
yes.
Shanice, give this video a good title now.
Oh yes, okay.
Don't just say that it was an open mic and people think of that good title.
Okay, I will
We need
do.
people to see this.
Cromwell was black. Hey, like, Oliver Cromwell was black. I think that's the one. What do you think of that one, family?
That's pretty good, but I know you'll think of something.
Okay. More love, more strength, more voodoo.
One
See you
love.
next strong, family.
One love.
Love.
Bye.
Bye for now.